I feel at 62 years old, I feel stronger than I sprint faster. I'm stronger. I lift heavier. I climb faster. I'm just so much healthier than I've ever been in my entire life at 62. And I think if we eat totally ancestrally, you are going to thrive. You're going to thrive. And anything that you've got going on, we can heal, we can prevent. And it's so simple. God doesn't make mistakes. And we're designed to function so perfectly. Our immune system is designed to function. But if we put toxins and sludge into our body, it's like a car. You know, if you don't give a car what it's designed to run on, it's going to die, you know, and so it's the same thing.
Pleasure. Welcome to the Your Body's Way podcast.
I'm so excited to be here and to finally meet you.
Me too. So everybody needs to know what this excitement is about and, you know, why we're so excited to meet each other. So I did an interview, episode 39 of Your Body's Way, and I interviewed Dr. Chris Knobbe about the dangers of seed oils. And it was just such a fabulous interview. He was just so incredible. And you are the co-author of Ancestral Diet Revolution, which is the book we were talking about. It's such an important book. It's such an incredible read. And anybody who reads it will just learn so much about the history of seed oils and how they've only come into our lives since the late 1800s, and how now it's kind of a major part of our diet. And you guys are just on a mission to kind of show people that, you know, having seed oils in our diet is so much more dangerous than we could ever imagine. And I'm so overwhelmed and so excited that you reached out to me and you said, look, Tam, literally on Friday, that's tomorrow, you and Chris Knobbe, you guys are heading off to the Pacific Islands, and it's called the Pacific Islands Research Expedition. You guys are going to go to remote places in the seven Pacific Islands, and you're going to study, you know, what your book was all about, like how our ancestors lived, like remote tribes, like, you know, people. Anyway, so I won't talk about it too much because you're going to talk about it. But here's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that anybody who is watching can actually see the slides that I'm looking at. And anybody who's listening will describe the slides as we go through it. But first of all, Suzanne, how are you doing? You're about to head off on a huge journey tomorrow. Like, how are you doing now?
Oh, Tam, I'm an emotional person, so if I cry or get kind of emotional, this has been since I was a little girl. I've been on this mission, and to think that it's coming to fruition is remarkable, and it's a gift from God. And Chris and I we just feel like this is the start, that we can really show the world what's happening out there. And it's gonna be so powerful, and that you're part of this. Thank you so much for helping us. We're just so grateful.
You're welcome. It's really incredible. After my conversation with Chris, he told me that you guys were going to go on this journey soon, to look at remote places where people eat, you know, from the land, not westernized diets, and you're going to study them, and you're going to see and put to the test what you guys have researched and studied. And he kind of reminded me, and I told him at the time, he kind of reminded me of the modern day Weston A. Price, Dr. Weston A. Price. What do you think of that? Because obviously I'd feel the same about you as well. So what do you guys think about something like that?
He is he's our idol, you know. We want to be like him. We're going to be the modern day, you know, Weston A. Price. We want to keep him alive, his legacy. And but we're going to take it to a new level. Now, this expedition we're doing is for us to get our feet wet. We want to see the big, huge research is going to be unbelievable. It's going to be so momentous. It's going to be so intense, and it's extremely expensive. And we are so grateful to the people who have donated to help us afford this first expedition. And again, we're still putting our own money in because it's just so expensive. And we just need to continue to keep helping with our own money. But if for the next ones, this one will not have us, we're not going to be doing blood work. We're not going to be taking adipose samples. We're not going to be doing, double plates where we freeze up. So say that we're in Tanzania, we're with the Maasai, and if we're sampling hundreds of people, we're not only taking their blood, not only taking adipose tissue, that would be the fat, to test for LA levels, linoleic acid levels, but to take whatever they're eating, to do this correctly, this is sampling right, we would have to take a double plate of what they're eating. So we make 2 of them, and then they would eat theirs, and we would quickly freeze it, and send it off to our lab to test, have all the tests done on what their food contains and what it consists of. And then that's for the and then we would go to their cohorts and do the same thing in the city that are no longer eating their ancestral diet. And therefore, then we would be able to compare and contrast and see the differences. But with this one, because we don't have the finances yet, and we're also just learning to find out how to do this, we're going to meet them. And as we go through the slides, Tam, I'll show you where we're going. And we'll kind of review things that Chris talks about a lot, and we wrote about in our book, and just kind of wrap it all up into why and how and what's going to happen when we're done. And you can all follow along with us and with Tam and stuff. So I'll keep in touch with her as well. And as we're going, as I'm leaving tomorrow, we'll be posting. I'll be posting as much as I can whenever we have internet, because they're pretty remote places. And but I'll try to find places where I can either do live chats or whatever, or I can post videos, I can post pictures, and I'll just keep y'all updated as to what we're finding out. And I just hope, my fear during this research to prepare for this expedition is that our processed food may be infiltrating more than we think. And I just pray it has not gotten to the tribes where we'll be spending a lot of our time with.
So as far as I know, tomorrow you are flying to Australia. So where are you based now?
I'm in Syracuse. I'm near Syracuse, in a little village called Marcellus.
So how far is that flight?
Well, Chris is already there, because he's there. He was there for Low Carb Down Under. He was speaking last weekend.
Of course,
he's still there, and he's with Dr. Rod Taylor right now. And so I'm going to fly out tomorrow morning, and I'll fly from here. Now, if you kind of toggle through, Tam, you'll see there's a slide right there. All right, so this one, you can see if you go up to the upper right-hand corner up yonder there, there's Syracuse. That's where I'm going to fly from, and I'll go down. Then I'll fly to Atlanta. Then from Atlanta, I'm going to fly all the way over, way down to the bottom corner, down to the left side, to Melbourne.
Wow.
And so
how long is that flight?
I'll tell you. Well, not including all the layovers, it's probably about 32 hours.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Are you ready?
The main flight from LAX to Melbourne is about 16 hours. That's a direct flight for 16 hours.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
And I'm not one that sits. So I'll be asking the flight attendants, do you mind if I do run up and down the aisles? Do you mind if I do my crunches? And do you mind if I do? I can't sit. So yes, that's where I'll meet Chris there. And so then the next morning we'll fly out, and we'll fly over to Bali. That's our first stop. And then we have a little wait over. Then we fly over to Makassar. And now again, these are just layovers. We're not going to be getting out. So that's layovers. Then from Makassar, we fly over to Jayapura.
Yes.
As you can see, in part of Papua New Guinea, but it's really in Indonesia. It's really part of Indonesia there. And so that's what they call a city. Of course, we don't really, it's probably nothing like it's kind of small, much smaller, but it's going to be, there's not going to be the native tribes will be living there. So we're going to first start out there, and we're going to go to see, do they have fast food? Do we see McDonald's? Do we see all, Kentucky Fried Chicken? What are we going to see there? And we'll go into the restaurants and ask them what they cook with. Do they cook with just coconut oil? Like they know of, because that's what they're known for in this region, is coconuts. Or have the seed oils infiltrated? We're going to go into their stores. We're going to talk with the people, that kind of thing. Then we're going to take a little tiny plane that's going to take us over here to Wamena.
So this is island 2. So there's 7 altogether, 7 locations.
Yes.
So Jayapura is 1.
Yes. And
Wamena is 2.
and
Yes.
this is where our first contact, and it's going to be with a tribe called the Dani or the Denai, and I'm not sure. We'll find out how they pronounce it. And so we have a guide that will be taking us, and we'll spend about 3 or 4 days with them. And I'm not going to tell you what, but I've asked our guide, because these are things that I wanted to do since I was a little girl, to ask them if there's certain things that we could be doing with them and that they could teach us and show us, because I think it's so profound for the world to see. And we're gonna be examining them, but we're not gonna be taking blood work and things like that, because we haven't got permission. When we do finally do that, we have to go through the health department, the government. We have to have permission for all of it. It's so paperwork intense.
Yes. Yeah.
And
really more complex than anyone might think. Yeah.
And the cost is just exorbitant. People cannot imagine. And so that's our mission, is hoping that if everyone hears what we're doing, that people will want to be part of this and join our mission, and help us to save lives. Every dollar would save a life. And we're just so appreciative to those who are giving to help us to try to afford this expedition. So then after Wamena, then we fly back to Jayapura, and then from there we would fly to Bali, back to Bali.
Oh,
and then from Bali we fly to Brisbane, back to Australia. And then from there we fly to Honiara, which is number 3. That's island number 3.
Yes.
That's in the Solomon Islands, and that's a city there. Of course, their city again is not like our cities.
Yeah.
They're very small. And that's where they have this huge market where people will come and they will bring their coconuts and bananas and papayas and their wild boar and their fish and things like that. And so we'll see that. But we're also going to probably be seeing restaurants, and what kind of food do they serve there? What kind of, in their stores, what kind of processed food do they have? And we'll also go into the extreme rural areas where we will see some of the ancestrally living people. And so again, it's constantly comparing and contrasting what we're finding there. And then from there, we fly to, I gotta think what our route is. From Honiara, I believe we go to, I think we fly to Fiji first.
Fiji. Okay, so you're going to
then
Seventh Island.
And then no, not yet. No.
Oh, okay.
That's a layover.
Oh, shoot.
Then we fly back to Brisbane. And then from Brisbane, we go to Samoa.
Wow.
And that was our 4th island. So you can see that we're really spending a lot of time in airports and on planes, but this is how we have to get there. We will.
Can I just say, how long is this entire journey? Like, when will you be back on your soil?
So it'll be exactly 3 weeks. So
3 weeks. Okay. Wow. That's a lot of, you're moving quick.
Yeah. So we're trying to get everything done as cheap as possible. As a matter of fact, many of the rooms I've booked us for, if you look in the reviews, people say there weren't too many rats in this one. So it'll be interesting to see how many rats we might see.
You know what? Please post on social media. Please, you're going to do it, right? You're going to put all of the photos, like all of the mishaps.
And of course, I love rats because I had pet rats. And so I said to Chris, do you mind if we bring some with us? He's like, don't know if they'll let us on the plane with them. I love rats. Are wonderful pets. I love rats.
Yeah.
And so we'll be in Samoa. We'll be there for about 4 or 5 days as well. And again, same thing, spending time with the people in the more suburban regions and the people in the extreme rural regions, and comparing and contrasting and looking to see what has infiltrated and what hopefully hasn't. So that's Samoa. After Samoa, we will fly back to Brisbane. And then we'll go over to Vanuatu.
Oh,
there is Vanuatu. That many of these islands we wrote about in our book.
Yes, I recognize the name.
Yeah. And Vanuatu is again the same thing. We're going to be looking at the cohorts and the regions there. And then from Vanuatu, now there's a movie called Tana. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's about this tribe called Tana. They live in Tana. and they're extremely, hopefully praying that they're still ancestral, and we'll fly from Vanuatu. And this one is only an hour flight. It's a direct flight. And so it's right there, number 6, that is Tana. And so that's a real quick flight. So we'll be able to spend time there, and again, comparing and contrasting, and collecting tons and tons of data, and a lot of footage of making recordings, and it's gonna be phenomenal. Then we fly back to Vanuatu, and we have a quick little layover there, and then from there this is a long one. I think we fly to I think this one's I'm not sure if it's Makassar again. I'm not sure if we go back to Makassar and then we come back to Fiji.
Right.
That'll be our last island. And people think, wow, there's in Fiji, there's actually a few neighborhoods or cultures that have been there for a few millennium, and they continue to live their ancestral ways. So again,
because Fiji is quite tourist, like
yes,
this holiday destination.
I can't wait to see it, if it's infiltrated there. And again, in my research, I feel that that's what I'm seeing in many of these places. But again, we'll see. And so our mission is really not only that, is also to teach the people in these regions and also the world that if you're traveling, please, and you think it's really swell to go and say, oh, I'm going to bring them some lollipops, I'll bring them some candy bars. Please don't do that.
Right.
We don't need to give them toxins, and we don't need to have them becoming addicted to what our world is becoming addicted to. We need to just allow them to live as humans are designed to live. And we can learn from them, and maybe we should start doing the same, and following their role. And it's just, so it's Tamara, it's just going to be truly remarkable. It's going to be amazing, and
you know, I can see how emotional you're getting and how important this is to you, and this is why it's so, this is why so many people are behind you on this, because it's really coming from the heart. But before we go into why you're doing this and talking about you as a child, because I know from you as a child you very much had this connection with nature, like, can what we eat have an impact on our health? So I know that about you. And also I want to kind of refresh the audience on why you're researching seed oils in the first place. Like, what's the big deal? Like, why can't we have some sunflower oil and some,
there's nothing wrong with
like,
seed oil.
there's nothing wrong with seed oils, but I have two questions. The first question is, so you and Dr. Chris, are you going to be literally like pulling each other's hair out by the end of this trip? Like, what is your relationship like? Will you be like buddies all the way through?
We already are. We talk all the time, and he's my best friend, and we can talk about anything.
Right.
And, we see each other at our worst. He's seen me vomiting. He's seen me with diarrhea. He's seen me with everything. I'm very sensitive. My body gets very sick very quick, and he's so understanding of that, and he saved my life, and but he also understood, and we believe we're both so faith-filled that God put us together for a reason, and we saw from our childhood that we've been on this mission since we were young, and that we were brought together to solve this situation that's going on in this world, and we have to stop this. We have to tell the truth. We're truth seekers. We're not money makers. We want the world to know the truth. And watching our family members die horrible deaths is just something we don't want to happen to anybody. So that's what we're doing, and you can all come along with us. It's like riding along our pockets, we're going to share our trip and our journey, and there's more to come. We'll be going to Tanzania to have time with the Hadza and the Maasai. We'll be going to Costa Rica and the Inuits. We'll be spending time with, it's just amazing down the road. But again, we have to raise the money to make this happen. And there's just, to me, no better way to put our money into something where we can save millions and millions. We're not just focusing on just cancer. We're not just focusing on, my mom is blind with macular degeneration. My father died riddled with cancer. We're focusing on every chronic disease. And I truly believe with all my heart and soul that these diseases are caused by the foods we eat. I grew up raising with my dad wild animals, and they were so vibrant. They were so alive. And there's my dad holding 2 of the young fox cubs. And he has his doctorate in education. And I remember when we were living at Columbia University, when he was working on his doctorate, he moved all of us there. And he just loves animals so much. And he would try to rescue the rats from the lab that were dying. And he'd bring them home. And they would be just so full of tumors. And we just loved them so until they died. And so it was our mission to just save animals. And so people, after my father, we moved back home after his doctorate was completed, whenever an animal would be killed, injured, or a mother animal was killed, and the babies were all still alive, they would bring them to us, and we would raise them, and we would rehabilitate them until they were old enough to go back into the wild. And by that, I believe that God placed me with my dad and my mom for a reason. And so I watched, and these animals were my family. I was their part of their litter, and they taught me so much about my life. They taught me how to climb trees. They taught me how to eat. They taught me how to just thrive outside. And so with that said, my father and I were both very, very sick. I inherited many of his illnesses. They never knew he had celiac. I was just diagnosed when I was 57. I'm 62 now. When I was 57, I was diagnosed with celiac. And I wondered all my life, why am I struggling so? Why is it so hard to eat? But Tamara, if we go to the next picture, this was me. And at 5 years old, my father would always say to me, when we had our animals, he'd say, okay, when you go to school, go to the library and bring home books on, if it was the raccoons or the fox or the skunks, the deer, whatever we were raising at the time, bring home books so we can study what their specific species diet would be and what their habitats, and so we can learn, so we know what to feed them. And I would sit in his lap and we would read and we'd study about them, and then that's what we would do. And so, like, for my raccoons, they're my favorite. I would go down to the water with them and watch them. And they were opportunistic omnivores. They would eat animals and they would eat plants. But of course, animals were their favorite. And I would watch them, and they would take their beautiful little hands that looked just like ours, and they would reach in and they would grab a frog or a crayfish or whatever, and they would just violently eat them, but so enjoying it. And I'd watch them and with such, and wow, look at that, look what they can do, but then when they would go and get berries and they would get other things, they would just eat plants from the earth as well. But anyway, so I remember about 10 years old, I said to my dad, Dad, do you think that we're sick because of what we eat? And none of our animals are ever sick. But why are we always sick? We don't eat anything that they eat. Our food is nothing but processed, and it's just this Captain Crunch and Tang and all these, candy bars and fruit cocktail that's loaded with syrups and things that are just all, there's this list of things on the back of the packages. And he's like, I don't know, I never thought about that. So he never really did much with it, but my whole life, I just kept saying, but then my grandma, she lived with the tribes in Africa. She taught in Liberia and Nigeria. And when she would come home, I would just sit at her lap and say, oh, Grandma, tell me all about the people. And she had so many slides, and they were so beautiful. They were so healthy, and they were just so alive. And their teeth and their faces were just glowing. I was, look at them. And their children, they don't look sick at all. I had the most dark circles under my eyes. I just looked so tired all the time. And in the pain I was in, I was crying in such pain every time I would eat. But she would tell me what they ate, meat and tubers from the earth and monkey brains. I'd tell you that story, but it's a long story, but she told me. And so I just realized it's what we're eating, right, killing us. So when I turned about 20, and I was now in college, and I could make my own choices. And that's when I started taking toxic things out of my diet. The first thing was, for me, was dairy. It was powerful for me. And then I started taking out, I went full vegan. And for decades, I was vegan, and a lot of things healed. A lot of things healed. I had a hiatal hernia that totally healed on its own. I still had a lot of digestive problems. Again, I didn't know I was celiac at the time. But anyway, fast forward, when I turned 50, I went raw vegan.
Right.
It was like that was a huge blow. Because I
In
felt
what way?
because when you don't cook the plants are so toxic.
Yeah.
And Sally, beautiful Sally Norton.
Yeah.
I worked with her, and she took me under her wing.
You worked with Sally. Oh my God, I see
Oh,
that
a long, long
connection. Because
time.
I've just released a podcast episode with her. We had the most wonderful
I love
conversation.
Sally.
I can't believe you worked together.
Yes, she was.
Wow.
She was amazing. And when I told her my story, because I was dying. Well, so I'll go back. It was just really horrible. So when I was 50, they did my first colonoscopy on me. And I was vegan, thinking, oh, and I was working my doctorate in nutrition and health and everything. I thought, oh, I know what the perfect diet is. It's, so my gastroenterologist comes in. I said, how was it? And he said, I don't know. And I said, what do you mean you don't know? He goes, I couldn't tell. I couldn't see anything. And he goes, your entire colon is embedded with nuts and seeds.
Wow.
I was like, what?
Wow.
I
I
said,
never even knew that could happen.
yes.
That's
And
incredible.
he said, who told you to eat nuts and seeds? I said, well, everyone knows that they're power foods. He goes, no, humans can't digest nuts and seeds. He said, don't eat them. At that point, I started thinking, wait, is there something wrong with this diet? I'm
started questioning your beliefs, which is really powerful.
This is something. So I took the nuts and seeds out. And I didn't really eat that many, because in my philosophy, when you're eating that many carbs, you can't have a lot of fat. Because you can't. I don't believe you can compete. I think you've got to have one or the other. And when you have too much competition, then you're going to have insulin and blood glucose. It's going to be all over the place. It's not going to know what to do with all this energy going all over the place. Because it was always pristine. My blood glucose, everything was always pristine. And I would eat 21 bananas a day. I mean, I was eating 3,000 calories of just carbs, very low fat, like 8% fat, 8% protein, the rest carbs. And so then I turned 57, and my health was really going down. I'm 5'8" and I weighed 95 pounds.
Wow. And
my doctors were like, you have no white blood cells, no red blood cells and platelets. You're dying. Wow. I said, how can this be? I said, I know I'm getting everything I need. I'm getting all the nutrients I need. So I went to see a hematology oncologist, and she said, we ran all the tests on me. And she says, my colleagues and I, we don't know what to think. But she says, we think you might have a rare bone marrow disease, cancer. She says, or, now I was really goofy at this time. 10 years prior to that, I had had breast implants put in. That's a whole nother story, Tamara. We'll have to talk about that one time.
Another episode, yeah.
He said, you may have the rare cancer also that goes with breast implants. I'm like, what? And she said, if we do this, the test for your bone marrow, she says, extremely painful. Would you get treatment for it? I said, absolutely not. I don't believe I have cancer. And I said, if I do, I can heal it. And she said, I think we're just going to say you have cancer, and we'll just call it at that. I said, thank you, but I don't believe that. So I left, and I had my implants taken out. Talk about pain. People have no idea. Girls, please don't do it. It's not worth it. It's the size of your heart, not the size of your chest, that matters. That's what beauty is. Anyway, so with that said, so then I turned 60. Oh, and my surgeon, she was vegan, but she said, I'm not a pure vegan because I don't believe in it. And she's a brilliant woman, brilliant surgeon. And that's all she does now is just remove implants. And she looked at my blood work, and she looked at everything about me. And she said, first of all, you're celiac. And she says, you need to get tested. And she goes,
that was the first time you heard that about yourself.
That's why I said I got tested. And then she said, secondly, I can't do surgery on you. She says, you're going to die on the table. She said, I've never seen such horrible blood work. And she goes, I believe in veganism, but she says, but we can't be. She says, you can have maybe like a fish a week, a piece of fish a week. We have to have something. But she says, you can't. She says, you have to have a lot of meat. She says, you're dying. And so, but I begged her, I said, please do the surgery. I've got to get these out of me, please, please. And she said, I'm going against my better judgment. But she says, okay, I'll do it. I almost died. I almost bled to death.
Wow.
And so I lost almost 60% of my blood. And that's a whole nother story too. We'll have to talk. It's a powerful story. But she said, you need a blood transfusion. I said, no, I don't believe in that. I said, if God wants me to live, he'll make me live. And I'm alive still. I got through that one. And so then I turned 60. So then I started eating meat. I came right home after that and I started eating meat. Tamara.
How was that for you?
The first thing I had was venison. It was wild venison deer. And my family was all here and I was shaking, literally shaking.
I can imagine.
And I put it in my mouth. Tamara. It was the most euphoric. I cried. It was so, the taste, it was every cell comes to life. You're like, oh my God. I just, but I was so afraid. I didn't know if I had enough of the acids that were going to help me to digest it. So I didn't want to go too fast because so I ate, just a small amount that day. And so then my beautiful Sally Norton, I got a hold of her and she helped me to get off of the plant. It took months and months and months that we slowly got off of the plants. I was getting all these styes and she kept telling me, and bone spurs were coming out. There were all the oxalates coming out of my body. The pain was just unbelievable.
Wow.
And so then I worked with Paul Saladino.
Yes, yes.
And he was also carnivore at the time.
God, talk about a switch from veganism to
carnivore. It took us about, I would say with Sal and I, it probably took us almost 9 to 10 months to get me to totally get all the plants out.
So in a year you made the switch.
Yes, it was so slow. Yeah. And so
right.
then I went full carnivore and then I worked with both Sally and Paul at the same time. And so then I did that for a year and I did not feel well at all. I felt great at first. So I was doing, that diet was like to go from extreme raw veganism. I was doing like 175 to 200 grams of raw suet a day.
Wow.
I was doing like 2 pounds of meat a day. I did 6 raw egg yolks a day. I was doing 3 ounces of both raw kidney and raw liver a day. And at first I felt amazing. Oh my God. I was just like, but then after about 2 or 3 months, the foot and leg cramps, so many other things started happening to me. And I said to Paul, I said, there's something wrong. And I was still working with Sal and I was taking all the supplements. I mean, I don't believe in supplements. I've never believed in supplements and they weren't helping. If anything, they were making me worse. To try to all the electrolytes, all the things everyone says, I was doing it. It was just not working for me. And then my blood work was coming back so horrible. And after about a year of it, I started losing weight again. I had gotten up to about 105 pounds, which was huge for me. And now I was going down, I was back down to 100 pounds. And my doctor's like, I don't know what we're going to do. He says, I don't think you can handle eating meat either. And so I prayed and I prayed. And I said to Paul, I said, no, I've got to add fruit back in. He goes, you're going to do fruit back. And he goes, why fruit? And I said, it's the least toxic. And he goes, which ones are you choosing? And at this point, I'm heavily into working on my, trying to get my doctorate done and everything. And I said, I think the ones that are the biggest bang for the buck for me would be an avocado because they're so loaded with minerals, the potassium, the magnesium, they've got the fats that I need. And I said, and banana, I'm going to start with those 2. And so I did, and it was like, it was like overnight that would have changed for me. And so, today, but then of course I kept losing weight. And so then I found Chris online. I saw his first video, the Denver low carb Denver.
Yeah.
And
how long ago was this?
Oh, that was like 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh my God, you only knew Chris 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah. Oh my God, I thought it would be like.
Oh, I mean, I feel like I've known him my whole life.
Wow.
We spent so much time together.
I'm loving this story. This is such a good story.
It's like a novel. My girl's like, you should write a book on it. And so then I emailed him. When I watched that video, I literally sat here and cried because it was so beautiful, because he showed that you can be carnivore like the Maasai, you can be in the middle like the Tukasinta or the Togolawans, or you could be in the almost vegan like the Papua New Guinea and Tukasintas, and I was like, look at this, it's possible. But we have to eat, and I was eating from the earth, but I was just eating all raw, you know, and they don't eat raw. They don't eat raw, people. They cook their potatoes, they cook things, you know. And so anyway, so I emailed him. I prayed and I prayed and I emailed him. And I thought I'd never hear from him. My girl's like, Mom, he's never gonna email you back. And he did. Within 3 hours, he got back to me. And so we emailed back and forth, and then we had a connection. And then we just became best buds. And so that's, and of course he saw my background with nutrition and ancestral living, and I'd already made my first hypothesis at 10 years old, saying it's what we're eating that's killing us. And that's when we kind of said, let's do something here.
Wow.
And so here we are now today. So you can see these are just some of the things that I have.
Celiac disease. I don't even know how to pronounce
the
dysfunction, migraines, chronic. I mean, this is when you're a child. Yeah,
that is something that it's very rare. It's a very rare thing.
So I mean, just to kind of like bring it to seed oils. So
yeah, so
your mission is obviously to show that seed oils can lead to chronic disease. So by some kind of insinuation, are you saying that diseases such as these that you're listing, like illnesses and health complications, they are down to seed oils?
Well, celiac is celiac. That's all gluten.
Yes,
that's
gluten.
And that's not just, it's just not wheat, barley. For me, it's every grain. I can't do corn, rice, none of that. Quinoa, it kills me. But everything else, well, the retrograde, the no burp syndrome, that's genetic. I can't. That has nothing to do with that. But everything else, I hardly know. If I eat migraines, constipation is gone. All my sinus infections are gone. My hiatal hernia is gone. Anything, I'm like, I feel at 62 years old, I feel stronger than I sprint faster. I'm stronger. I lift heavier. I climb faster. I'm just so much healthier than I've ever been in my entire life at 62. And I think if we eat totally ancestrally, you are going to thrive. You're going to thrive. And anything that you've got going on, we can heal, we can prevent. And it's so simple. God doesn't make mistakes. And we're designed to function so perfectly. Our immune system is designed to function. But if we put toxins and sludge into our body, it's like a car. You know, if you don't give a car what it's designed to run on, it's going to die, you know? And so it's the same thing. Tamara, I've had many of my clients that will come to me and just either dying or riddled in pain. And I'll just say simple things, just take out seed oils. And I promise you, wait till you see what happens. And I said, it's in everything you're eating, if you're eating all processed foods. And some of them will call me in 24 hours and say, Suze, I know this is probably too graphic, but you know, when I go to the bathroom, it's like all this sludge is coming out of me now. And I said, wait after 30 days, wait till you see what happens after 30, 40, 50 days, wait till a year from now. I said, you're going to be like a new person.
That's incredible.
You've got to get this stuff out of you. It's clogging your pores, it's clogging your arteries, it's clogging all your cells. And it does. And it's so profound. And as we go through the slides, Tim, you're going to see that none of these look at all these nations, look at these, these are the nations that have never had coronary heart disease.
So let's try and read these then. So 19th century Americans, Simane of Bolivia, Aki of Paraguay, Masai, Tuquisenta, Kitavans, and Tokelau. Yeah, and it's all across the world, like
there's even more. I mean, if you go to China, Japan, you know, Costa Rica, there's all over the world, you know, the Inuits, Alaska. I mean, they're everywhere, you know, and we did these, but these specific ones, we know there's no coronary heart disease. We've researched this.
And no seed oils. No seed oils, no
You'll see
coronary
as we
heart
go
disease.
through, what do they all have in common? And we're going to see what it all is. Here's the beautiful Maasai. Look at them. This is what the native tribes look like that my grandmother taught. And I would be in awe. Look how beautiful and just so
Yeah.
regal.
Very
They're
handsome.
aren't they?
A
Just
group of handsome men.
no adipose fat, nothing. You know, they're just regal, and look at their teeth, look at their jaws that you see. They're just beautiful. And then we go to the next slide and look what they eat. They have a diet of milk, meat, and blood.
Milk, meat, and blood.
3,000
Very
calories,
simple.
3,000 calories a day. They're getting 66% animal fat. And that animal fat is mostly saturated fat. And here we're told by the medical people, oh, saturated fat causes heart disease. I don't think so. Look at their carbs. 70% carbs. Not many carbs there. That's
lower than a keto diet, right?
Yeah. Look at the LA. Look at linoleic acid. Only 1.7%. Most people have in America, 12, some maybe even 20%. They're eating so much food with LA, oils.
Now, if I remember from your book, so that you say that tribes like these, like the Maasai tribe, they would have no more than, let's say, 2% of linoleic acid, which is what is found in the seed oils, which is what builds up and causes the health problems. But you say that in the westernized diet, it's like 8 to 12%.
Yes,
and that's quite a big jump for seed oils.
And I think we're being kind of, generous. I mean, I think it's even more. I do believe it's even higher. I really do. And we have also found in research that once it hits about 4, that's where you start seeing the disease occur.
Really? Just
right
4? Wow.
4. And so keep it low. Keep it low. And so now we go to the next pictures. This is the Tokelau. Now this is the regions where we're going to be. Okay. So the Tokelauans, yeah. So these are the islands we're going to first. All right. So the Tokelau, so we'll go to the next slide, Tam. And you can see what their diet was. Okay. I'm hoping still is coconut, fish, starchy tubers, and fruit. And again, 54 to 60% of their calories are from coconut and coconut oil. And the coconut oil is mostly saturated fat. 53% fat, 48% saturated fat. 2% of their diet is PUFA oil, would be from PUFAs. Isn't that remarkable?
It really is.
That's remarkable. Yeah. And virtually no obesity or diabetes.
You must be, I mean, how do you feel about eating the way that they're eating? Because obviously when you're on the islands, you're going to be eating their diet. So are you excited about that?
I am. Now someone, and that's what Chris said to me last night. He's like, Susan, I'm just so afraid you're going to get sick because I do tend to get sick. But I said, then we deal with it. God's with us, every time we travel, we have to deal with something I'm going to get, but we deal with it. All I ever take is honey. Raw honey I don't eat it as a staple. I use raw honey. To me is a medicine to me.
Right.
I never had an antibiotic. And even with my children, they were never sick, never missed a day of school. And the only thing I ever gave them was raw honey. And so I always travel with my honey.
I was going to say, I wonder what's in your suitcase for a trip like this. And now I know, like bottles of honey.
Just raw honey is all I will take with me. And so now we'll go to the next slide. And now this is where we're going to be, is in Papua New Guinea. So this is the Tukasentas. Okay. And to the next slide, we can see, notice all the sweet potatoes. That's what their diet mostly is. About 90% of their diet is sweet potatoes. And we're going to be showing you live and so forth as we're going through this. We're going to help them harvest. I have this that Sally taught me about. It's called vulvodynia. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Really painful. And if I eat potatoes, it hits me right there.
Right.
And so but I will do what I have to do because I don't want to offend them, and I want to sample what their food is.
Of course, like this is such a transformational journey, and you're experimenting, and you never know how it's going to be.
And maybe because if theirs has no glyphosate on it, maybe the way they're preparing it, maybe it's what they're doing. Maybe that's going to change things. Can you imagine? We find it out. I'm the guinea pig.
Yeah.
I'm like the radar for oxalates, So who knows? Again, God's hand is at work always. Now, the next slide, we'll see their diet was mostly 94.6% carbs, pretty high. 3% protein, 2.4% fat. Wow. Look
There's
at
such
the
a change
LA.
from the
Look at
first
the LA,
tribes.
0.6%
Wow,
health.
that's the lowest of the low, right?
And they were pristine, very healthy, very
Mm.
healthy.
It's amazing how like it's 94% carbs, whereas the first tribe was like only 17%,
Yeah.
and yet they're thriving. So it just shows, doesn't it, that it's
So
not
we
about the
can't,
macros, you know?
no, it is not. And we'll see that in the next couple slides. Okay, Tim. So again, notice this. Their population was lean, physically fit, in good nutritional state, absent no obesity, hypertension, absent, no diabetes, no gout, ischemic heart disease, no, rare, macular. My mom's blind with macular, no macular degeneration there. They're doing something right. They're doing something right. Next slide, please. And then you'll see, what do all healthy traditional populations have in common? They have no refined sugar, no refined wheat, no processed foods, and no vegetable oils.
That's it.
Yeah. Next
That's
slide.
it.
Yeah. This one, again, dietary analysis, traditional population studies. What about the fat composition? Saturated fat, does it matter? No. Look at the Tucasindas, 1%. Maasai, 45 plus more. And Tokelau, 48%. Saturated fat. What about monounsaturated fat? Does it matter? 1% in Tucasinta, 53 to 65% in the Maasai. We've got all these extremes, you know, it's like, next slide. Healthy traditional populations. What about the macros? Carbs, 17% Maasai, 95% Tucasina. Fat, does it matter? 2.4% in Tucasina, 66% in the Maasai. Next slide. Look at this. Look at the Inuits. Look at all of these. Excellent health, but look at their carb intake. They're all over the place. From probably nothing to massive amounts, but they're all in excellent health. Yeah, pretty powerful.
It's really powerful. I mean, I can see that like the Inuits, Maasai, like all of the tribes you've listed in Japan, Okinawa, Papua New Guinea, all excellent health. And the carbohydrates is going from 8% all the way up to 94%.
We can't say carbs. We can't
Yeah.
say carbs. There's something else going on here. So then when we go to the fat, let's look at the fat. Look at the Maasai, 66% fat, all the way down to 3.0. And they're all excellent. So it can't be the fats. Can't blame it on the fats. And then, but look at the LA here.
Yes.
All of them. Look how low. They're all below 2.
Yeah.
And then the westernized population is between 7 to 12, which I think we've got some people that are higher than that.
So just to kind of let everybody know, when we're talking about seed oils, what exactly are we talking about?
Okay, so seed oils are low. Now, if we go to some of the other slides.
Here we go. Here's the list.
This is the list of the worst to the best of fats to cook with. And of course, we've been preached to that seed oils are heart healthy. We have to have them because they're so swell. But look at them. Look at the LA in these. Look at safflower, 75%. Grapeseed, 70. Sunflower. These are all the things that we see. You know, and then you go down to the ones that everyone thinks are the real healthy ones, the avocado, the olive, and the palm. But the thing is that many of those are adulterated with the red, the ones all in the red. You're probably not even getting this, but we do know that there are some olive oils out there that actually are around 3 to 4%. And so that's my mission, is to find them and to report them to you.
That would be great. I had a fabulous podcast about olive oil, and it was so fascinating. And yeah, I was basically warned about the fraud that happens in the olive oil industry and what the adulteration and
yes, and I have so many people calling me saying, you know, Suze, or my clients will say, you know, well, which one's the best? And I'm studying it right now, and I will tell you.
Because it's not easy to know. I mean, the best advice I got was Dr. Simon Paul. He was fabulous. And the best advice he gave me was just look at the bottle, and just if their description is as specific as possible, that's the best chance of having the best olive oil. So it should say, if not just in Italy, it should say where in Italy.
Yes.
Not
it
just
should have a harvest date. It should have
harvest date. The types of olives is great. Like the types that were there. Like, and the more local that you can get your bottle, the better. And to also consume it within like a couple of weeks. Like,
but the thing is, I would love, for me, I'd love for the whole world to know, wouldn't you love to know, are there really at 3 or 4% LA olive oil? And that's my mission. I want to know. I want to know where they are, and I'm gonna find them. So I'm your detective.
And please tell me when you find them, tell me.
I will let you know.
I
But
think we're
then
gonna get our credit cards out.
but look at the green. Look at the green. So beef tallow, I mean, these are ancestral. This is what they're using in all of these different nations who are eating ancestrally. They're eating beef tallow, they're eating butters, they're eating palm kernel, coconut oil, lard. But be sure that if you look at the lard in the green and you look at, there's also lard up in the red. The one in the red, 20%, the one down here, because the one in the red is ancestrally raised. No, the one in the red is raised CAFO. They're feeding them grains, corn, so all this GMOs. But the one down here in the green is fed ancestrally. It's eating how it's designed to eat out in the wild. And they're going to have very low. Look at how low that is, 2% versus 20. It's the same thing with chicken. Buy chicken that's been ancestrally raised, not in a CAFO, because you're going to have profound changes in your LA.
Interesting. It says beef tallow in the green, 3% CAFO. So what does CAFO mean?
CAFO is raised in factories, raised in, but
beef is still low because beef doesn't store it, the linoleic acid.
Yes, how they digest through their stomach, it's able to just eradicate a lot of the toxins. So you can see, but people, I can't tell you, every week, hundreds of people are asking me all the time, but what about palm kernel? What about this? There's this new oil that's out that says it's really low in poof and all that. I don't believe in those because they don't have the vital fat soluble vitamins, A, D, K2. We need those to be healthy. It's part of being human, and we are not getting them in oils. I mean, we really do need to be eating these natural fats. To me, if I can find this perfect olive oil, I'm going to find it.
Yeah.
But to me, coconut, if you're going to do an oil, coconut oil would be the one to go. I think that there's so much more to coconut oil. And again, there's so much investigating I'm doing on this. I remember when I was working my doctorate, a couple of the students had fathers in their 90s who were severe Alzheimer's, severe. And I had mentioned to them that I was studying about coconut oil. And of course, I was vegan at the time. And I said, and I've heard miraculous things can happen with coconut oil with the brain. And I said, would you just go home and try giving your fathers coconut oil every day? And within a few weeks, they said that they were actually up walking and talking and doing things that they had never done for years.
How much did you recommend?
I was saying like 3 tablespoons a day.
Yeah, because I've heard something similar. Because I'm studying functional medicine, and actually that came up that having coconut oil can help brain function.
Absolutely, and I believe it with all my heart. And I feel that there's even more to coconut oil than we will ever know. But it's the same thing. God doesn't make mistakes. Everything is so beautiful. There's just so many nutrients and phytochemicals and things that are just that we'll never know. But we have to trust our instincts and to go with our ancestors. This is what they're using. Butter is what they've been using for eons. I mean, if you can handle those, if you can handle dairy. Raw. I'm trying raw right now. I'm trying for the first time with my dear friend Ashley and Sarah Armstrong, some raw sheep yogurt, kefir and butter. And I'm just trying. I'm trying to see if my body can handle it. So we're seeing. But again, look at them. Look at these. They're beautiful. Look at butter, the 100% grass fed. Look at that.
Yeah, I love that. 1.4% LA.
And you're getting your vital, again, for those of you who are oil, but I gotta use an oil, but they don't have, get your biggest bang for the buck, guys. If you want to have really amazing bodies and amazing brains and everything, you want to make sure you're getting fat soluble vitamins, and they're only going to come from animals. They're going to come from the animal fat, and that's got to be the A, D, and K2. And that comes from the fats that from animals. It won't come from coconut oil. It won't come from palm oil. It won't come from avocado or olive oil or any of these new oils that are coming out. They're saying, oh, this has got the highest smoke point and it doesn't have PUFAs, but it doesn't have the ADK. We have to get those in.
And the good thing is you can cook with all of those.
Absolutely. Yeah, it tastes so good. Oh, yeah. I'm a suet girl. Suet is the fat around the kidney. So I just buy big, huge bags of raw frozen suet.
I think I'm gonna have to try that. I enjoy cooking with so I like cooking with butter, obviously.
Yeah.
Ghee, I enjoy
Yeah.
cooking with. And
Try the suet. There's just something to it. It's just, to me,
mm,
but even just eating it raw, to me, it tastes like, as a vegan, I had cheese for decades. And when I first ate the raw suet, I was like, oh, it reminds me of cheese. And so here we have the nuts. Okay. And remember, we've designed it to digest nuts. My body isn't. But you can see, look at them. Look at the LA in these seeds and nuts. Look at them. But notice at the bottom, the macadamia. Macadamia
2.5%.
and the same with their oil. So we couldn't fit that on the other chart. So the macadamia nut oil is extremely low as well. So if you want another oil to think about, that would be another great one. I mean, that's even lower than olive oil. So macadamia nut would be great again, but it doesn't have the fat soluble vitamins A, D, and K2. Yeah,
One thing that I remember reading from the book is you're not telling people that, you know, that no LA is the goal, because you've said that, you know, in the tribes, even 2% or less, like that's kind of normal. And I've you know, since reading the book, I love Chinese food, and I just love the taste of sesame seed oil. It's so ingrained in like Chinese cooking, and I'm just like, oh God, like I've got to use it. Like I've got to kind of stick it in. So, but the way that I reassure myself and tell me if, you know, what you think of this, I just think sesame seed oil is different because it's like, it's more of a seasoning, and like just to give a drop of,
they're not dousing it.
You don't fry your food in it. You don't kind of deep fry. You don't like douse.
Right.
It's like a little seasoning in a meal.
Yeah,
and overall, like, how much harm can it do, really?
And I think you're totally right. I think that if we get to such an extreme where we're just afraid of everything, but I believe sesame seed, if it's prepared correctly, if it's made correctly, if you look at the end, of course, I'm hoping we will be spending time there as well, because I want to see how their sesame seed is prepared, how they're using it. I think there's something to ancestrally doing things. And again, they're not just dousing it. It's a very light glaze on it. And I think, and of course, LA, I mean, we need to have linoleic acid. It's an essential. We have to have that. And so we don't want to just say we can't have it at all.
Yeah, that's not the goal.
No. And but we also look at how the people in Asia and how they use this as in their food. Most of their food is just, it's all fresh. And so a little bit of this, I think it's going to help them, because a lot of their food is so low in LA that I don't think it's gonna harm, you know, and that's why they're so healthy, because they aren't eating a lot of other things that could do you in.
Yeah.
So again, moderation and understanding that we have the knowledge, and I think just a little here and there, no, can't hurt you at all. Look at the people in the early 1900s. You don't see one obese person walking around.
No, not at all.
Look at them. Tall, lean. I mean, no matter what they are, they're just lean people. Yeah. And what did they eat? You know, they were not carnivore, but they did eat like 8 to 12 ounces a day, typically. And then they would have their potatoes, you know, whatever they would grow. But again, they were meat eaters. They had dairy. They were not vegans. They were, you know, but what didn't they have?
Seed oils were just coming into things, right? At this stage.
Crisco was
Crisco. The Crisco story. I freaking love it. Yeah.
Just coming in. And so they were just starting, and look at them.
Yeah.
So many diseases were not even known at this time. Very, very rare, very rare. And there he is, Weston A. Price. We're following his shoes, and we want to keep his legacy alive. Doesn't he just make you smile? It's like, oh, and people, if you haven't read his books and if you haven't studied him, he is truly, he is just a gift from God, that he was sent to teach, to tell us the truth. And he did, and now we're continuing his legacy with our first.
No wonder you're so emotional about this trip tomorrow.
And this is one of our first tribes that we'll be spending time with, the Denai warriors. Aren't they beautiful?
They are.
And so they're going to teach us an awful lot about life and food. And this is our book. It's on four different versions. Again, if I were you, I wouldn't buy the black and white, because we have over 180 drafts and photos and charts, and it doesn't do it justice. It's very difficult to read. But if you want to go really budget wise, the ebook is full color, and I work so hard at making sure that everything was linkable. So when you're reading along, and if it says, see figure, whatever, you can click on that and it will take you right to that figure. And vice versa. So it's really beautiful. But the hardcover, this is the hardcover right here, my hand.
Let's see. Oh,
look how thick
it's very thick. And I remember reading it. If anybody enjoys charts and research and numbers and diagrams, then this is the book for you, because it's definitely not short on any of those things. It's so detailed. And if someone is skeptical about what your message is about seed oils, then once they read the book, there's just a lot of research to contend with. It's like, okay, so it's hard to kind of look away from what you're trying to say.
We have over 1,300 references, and we had to really pick and choose because there were so many. And this is our motto. I said, Chris, we have to have a motto. Seed-free is the key to being disease-free. And I truly believe that. I believe that, because that's the only thing you can see through the slides. That's the only thing that was, because you can't say it's the carbs, can't say it was the fats, can't say it was any of those things. It wasn't the sugars. This is the only thing they had in common. They did not have seed oils in processed food. And then our last screen, I believe, and if you want to find us, we're found on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, which is now X, and on YouTube channels. You can find Chris all over the place. And of course, now my videos are starting to come out. But again, this is our foundations, our Ancestral Health Foundation and Cure AMD. And join our mission, guys. We would love to have you join us. And we were going to eventually have an Ancestral Health Foundation website. We're working on that. But we do have our Cure AMD, and there's actually a donation page. And if you want to help us to afford to test and go and see what we're finding in all of these different remote nations, be a part of our mission, be part of our warrior team.
And how do we do that? Like, how do we support you? We go to these places.
You go right to cureamd.org, and they'll have a donation. There's actually a donation page, and every dollar will save a life. And it's not just a cancer. It's not just AMD. It's every chronic disease. So if you've got disease happening in your family, help support us, and we can we're gonna solve this. We're going to save people's lives. We can prevent it, but before it happens. But that's our children. But many of us we're already there, so we can heal. We can heal us. So
you said that you're going to keep a secret, or something's going to be secret about your trip. And
there's a lot of things that are secrets. I'm going to tell you, because I'm not going to tell you.
So we have to follow you because basically you're going to keep your location secret. People have to guess where you are. And
so you'll have to kind of guess where we are at the point where we are, and then other things too that we're going to be kind of having fun with. And guys, it's just been such a wonderful journey to take with all of you. And Tam, I just love you and adore you so much. And thank you so much for helping us and being one of our warriors. Thank you.
It's been such a pleasure to meet both of you. Like, you're both such a delight. I love you both. And I know that you both kind of admit to not being, very big on social media, but I know with this, you're going to be on it, right? You're going to be posting everything.
As much as we can. Again, we're remote locations. I keep asking everywhere we're going, these places that might have rats where we're staying. I'm saying, do we have Wi-Fi? And so, but we're going to find places. We will go to find places, and we will stay as connected as possible. And my granddaughters are saying, my grandma, how are you going to sing to me at nighttime? I said, I'll find a way, darling. I'll find a way. But anyways, I promise you, we will have you all with us, and we're carrying you all in our hearts.
Please do. Please do. Do you know what? Tomorrow I will be thinking of you. I'll be thinking of both of you. And I wish you all the best for the next 3 weeks. It's going to be absolutely incredible. And I'm going to be following everything that you're doing, because I've just got to see how this goes. Like, it's so exciting. It just makes me smile, because I'm just like, it's scary. Like, but exciting, and like so many emotions packed into one. It's brilliant.
It's my granddaughter, but what if you get malaria? What if you get bitten by some wild animal? I said, then it was I said, everything is God's will. I said, I don't want to sit home. I want to do something profound to help people. if it takes my life, it takes my life. I said, I'd rather give my life to save a life. So that's what it's all about.